Okay, so I think that children and young people spend such a massive amount of time at school, and it is a place where they build really strong kind of relationships. It's a place where they kind of the foundations of their kind of the ways that they socially interact with other people are kind of, you know, are built and learned, or so much of it is learnt there, and it's a place where things can go really really well, and it's also a place where things go really badly. And I think that schools really need to be paying a lot of attention to they need to be paying a lot of attention to the kind of the emotional well-being of the students there, because they're there just simply for the obvious fact that they're there so much of the time, and whether a student is happy or sad is going to affect. It's not just going to affect, you know, it's not there for just, I mean, just in itself it's an important thing because you want your kids to be happy. But also, if they're not happy, they're not going to be learning. They're not going to be able to. It's going to be difficult for them to kind of form those friendship groups that they need to form. And I think that it's and that's why they need to. The school has a part to play in the sort of emotional well-being of the students, and I think they need to think about that in how the staff interact with the students, in how they promote kind of positive relationships between one student and another student or groups of students. They need to think about it in terms of talking about. I mean, I suppose I'm thinking about primary school because that's where, you know, that's how old my kids are at the moment. But I'm thinking about, you know, just the whole idea about emotional literacy and giving the children the opportunity to talk about their feelings. You know, I mean, I was thinking, you know, when I saw my eldest, and I remember first noticing when he was embarrassed, how that keen feeling that we get when we're embarrassed. It's so difficult to deal with, and when you're young, 5, 6 years old, trying to deal with that, the sort of force of that emotion, you know, it can, if you don't have kind of, and that's just, you know, you've got all these emotions, not just one, you've got all these things, and if you don't have some kind of help and support from the people around you to learn how to deal with those emotions, then that's going to come back on you later on, and I think that that's why obviously there's a role for families and friends, but there's definitely a role for schools as well in making sure that, you know, that kids learn how to kind of deal with those emotions, because they don't get any weaker as you get older. You just learn how to deal with them, don't you? You know. Obviously, I believe that my role as a parent, I think the buck stops with me, and that it's first and foremost it's my responsibility, and to make sure that that my kids are happy, you know, and as much as I possibly can, or when they're not, or that when they're not happy, that they have the wherewithal to be able to bounce back again. And also, I think it's probably school's a lot scarier than it is at home, and arguably, you know, there's plenty that could go wrong at school. So they need to be on top of it, and they need to be on top of it, and they need to be thinking carefully about how what's happening outside school is impacting them, and how and how what happens inside school might impact what then happens at home. You know, they need to be thinking kind of holistically about the children. But I think it is. I think, you know, and also not that for kids who don't have, who don't have kind of who don't have stable home lives, or as stable as others, it can be, school can be one of the most, sort of stabilising and kind of it can be, it can be a really stable and really safe place to be, if that school kind of attends to that sort of stuff, if it has a mind for it. I think it's really important that schools have some way of because I'm an ex-teacher as well, and I didn't, when I didn't have really anything in my teacher training that talked about mental health or emotional well-being at all. And I think that you might be asking teachers to you might be asking teachers to kind of implement things in their school, or think, okay, well, you say to a teacher, well, you need to be thinking about the emotional well-being of the students, and they might not necessarily really know where to go with that. And I think to have something that enables a school to, some sort of a framework that they can use to be able to think about, are they doing the right stuff at the right time, you know, and how effective is the kind of the things that they're doing in terms of the sort of policies and processes, and what happens in the lessons and all the rest of it is really important.